I'm Judy Melman. I'm the founder of Cooqi Gluten-Free, and I want to show you just how easy and versatile it is to use my pizza and pita mix. Here we have 2.5 cups of the pizza and pita mix, the contents of the yeast packet, which comes inside the package, 2 to 3 tablespoons of olive oil, and 1.5 cups of water. Okay, so here's all there is to it. Basically, you take your mix and you pour that into the bowl. Your yeast, pour that into the bowl. Your olive oil, pour that into the bowl. And you can kind of get that all off of there. And now I'm using my stand mixer and I'm fitting it with the paddle attachment. Just knock that down. We're going to turn it on low. And pour your water in slowly. Okay, so can you see how that's it's a little bit lumpy, a little bit oatmeal-ish, kind of gloppy looking? Now that's how you know it's not mixed. And the next thing we're going to do is turn the mixer now up to high, and we're going to let it go for about a minute. So here we have what it looks like after you've mixed it. And what I want you to see is that it's all smooth and creamy, that the consistency has changed. That's what you're going for. You want it to look just like that. You want to make sure that your pans are well oiled because this stuff does stick. So I like to use spray canola oil. You can use any spray oil you like. Just make sure it's not something labeled baking spray, because a lot of times those have flour in them and therefore are not gluten-free. They do also have, by the way, for those of you who are trying to avoid soy, usually the sprays have soy lecithin in them, so keep an eye on that. Okay, spray that nice and there, okay. And now I'm going to take with my scoop, I'm just going to scoop out a little more than a cup. You can decide how much dough you want to put on your pan based on how thick you like your crust. I like mine kind of a little bit on the thin side. So this is about 1.33 cups. Okay, now I'm going to show you a special trick that makes forming your crust really super easy. And now I know a lot of people are thinking when you're making pizza crust, they're thinking pizza parlor where you throw the pizza crust up in the air and catch it. You're not going to do that with this. It's a little mushy, but I'm going to show you a trick that will make this really easy and not messy at all. So here we're going back to our spray oil. And here I have just a regular plastic storage bag. You want to make sure it's the big enough kind so that because you're going to be using it to press this out. So make sure that it's as big as your pan. And so I'm going to spray one side. Make sure you get, a nice amount of oil on your bag. Now just lay that down over your dough. And now you're going to take your hands and you can just press it out into the shape of your pizza crust and just try and get it nice and even. It doesn't have to be perfect. It really doesn't matter. You just kind of shape your edge. If you want to have a little lip at the edge, you can kind of run your finger around there. Okay, now we're going to take and just peel back. You see that as you start to peel it, the dough kind of comes away with the bag, but you're just going to kind of bend it and peel it back. And the reason why you sprayed your bag as well as you could is because you trying to avoid that sticky business there. But there you go. There's your nicely shaped pizza crust. And now what we're going to do is set that in a warm spot. I like to set it on top of the oven, where the oven is preheating. Hopefully you've set your oven to 400 before you start it. And we're going to set the pizza crust there to rest for about 10 to 15 minutes. It's not going to rise a lot and it doesn't need a long rising time, but it's just kind of good to just let it sit there for a little bit. Here's what your pizza crust is going to look like when it comes out of the oven. Now this one's actually a little bit smaller. I made a 10-inch one, but you're only going to par bake it. It will still look kind of pale like that. And here is what it's going to look like after you've topped it, and we're going to stick it back in the oven. Now you can take your par-baked crust, and you can wrap it up and put it in the freezer and keep it for later if you want, or you can immediately top it. And now we're going to put it back in the oven at 400 for 10 to 15 minutes until your cheese melts. Doesn't that look delicious? And what's great about it is that it's totally gluten-free and made with organic whole grains. You know it's good for you. So go ahead, have a lot. So what's really great about the Cooqi brand pizza mix is that you can do so much more than make pizza crust out of it. And I just want to show you a few of the many, many options that are available to you. With the same package and the same mix, you make the dough exactly the same way. I'm going to show you how to make this pita bread that is so easy. I'm basically scooping out my dough and I'm plopping it on the cookie sheet. I'm scooping my dough, I'm plopping it, I'm scooping my dough, this is as hard as it gets, folks. We scoop and we plop. We go like that, okay, and eventually you can fill up your whole cookie sheet. Now, what I like to do is, see, that's kind of a little bit more of a roll kind of shape. To make it flatter like a pita, you simply pick up your pan and you bang it on the counter. And look at that, you've got them all flattened into nice little discs. The beautiful thing is there's really no rules about this. I actually discovered this recipe completely by accident. So you can throw it in the oven now. You can let it sit for a little while if you want and let it rise. And what you want to do is bake it at about 400 degrees for 20 minutes. And it should be lightly golden. Okay, now I'm going to show you how to do baguettes. This was a really popular item at my bakery. This is a baguette pan, which I have sprayed and prepared to make the baguettes in. I just wanted to show you too, this is another form of a baguette pan. It's got the holes in it. And what you might find, make sure that your dough isn't too wet if you have this kind of pan, because it might come down a little bit through that, but it makes it a little crispier, so those are nice. And of course, obviously you can see you can make actually 3 at a time. So here's all there is to it. Take your scoop and scoop out some dough, and start at the end, or sort of a little bit in from the end, and kind of lay your scoop like that. Go 1, 2, 3, and you can even do a 4th and start at the back end and go like that. Whoa! And then you take a spatula and you want to just kind of shape it a little bit. Make sure those places where the scoop was separated, those can be weak spots, so you just want to make sure you run those together so it doesn't fall apart when it bakes and you pick it up out of the pan. And just shape it into a nice baguette shape. If you want, you can kind of go back and take all the extra goo off. You're going to let that rise for about 20 minutes in a warm spot, and what'll happen is it kind of stretches out a little bit more. So don't have your dough go too far to the end of the pan. And then bake that for 15 minutes in a 400 oven, and take it out and brush it with a little bit of olive oil to help it brown and crisp up, and stick it back in for a few minutes till it browns. And you'll have the most delicious baguette ready for your brie and glass of red wine. One of the things that I've been really excited to discover is the ability to make bagels. I use this donut pan, which holds the shape of your bagels. And what I do is I just take the dough and I put it in a pastry bag with no tip in it, just with the end cut off, and you just kind of pipe it into the circles as you go. Let it rise and bake it for 15 minutes. Take it out, brush it with some egg white, and bake it again to brown it up, and you have awesome bagels. Another thing is focaccia. I like to use a cake pan for that. This is an 8-inch round cake pan, and you just scoop the dough into the pan, smooth it out, sprinkle on a little bit of kosher salt and fresh rosemary, bake it for 15 minutes, take it out, brush it with olive oil, put it back in and brown it up, and you will have a delicious focaccia. Oh, here's a tip. If you want a little variety and have a different flavor, try substituting out a 1/4 cup of the mix and substituting in a 1/4 cup of your choice of amaranth, teff, almond meal, or another gluten-free flour. So these are just some of the things that you can make with Cooqi's great pizza mix: baguette, pita, bagel, crostini, focaccia, pizza crust, and perhaps you can come up with even more. Enjoy.